this
Sure.
part
So,
lah.
both Kang Liang and Joe, very nice to see you today. Do you all want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for having us, John. So we are Scorpy, and what we do is we are a fintech platform, which we can share a little bit more later. I started the company about 1 year ago. Joe joined us a few months back, and he's looking after most of the business development efforts. Taking care of the product, the investors, the everything else. Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the two of us for now.
And how about Joe? Do you want to talk about yourself?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm Joe, and I think Kang Liang has said pretty much everything about what I do at Swappy. So yeah.
Okay. Is there any additional things that you do?
Mainly business development, and yeah, like he said, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So, do you want to tell me how Swappy works?
Sure. So I'll talk about the current product in the market first, and then the product for the social service sector, right? So right now in the market, if any one of us who has credit cards, the credit cards give you a particular rebate percentage for every dollar you spend. So for example, 3%, 5%, maybe depending on whether you're spending on a particular platform as well. For example, Lazada, for example, Shopee, right, where they have promotions. So yeah, so as a consumer, but you don't spend, like maybe 500 or you don't spend more than 500 or $1,000 a month on your credit card, right? So although the bank allows you to spend up to maybe $10,000, so what we're helping consumers to do is to earn the rewards and the rebates on the remaining $9,000, for example, that is left unspent. So what we will do for them is we will match them to a company, a SME, who needs to purchase some inventory or some equipment, and let's say this inventory or equipment costs maybe $10,000, right? What would happen would be the SME would pay the consumer $9,800 in cash, so maybe 1 or 2% rebate. So what the SME gets is a $200 rebate. The consumer would pay $10,000 to the supplier of the SME in credit card. So let's say in this case, right, the SME, for example, he's an e-commerce merchant guy, right, who is importing power banks from China, for example. He would get a consumer to pay the Alibaba supplier on behalf of the company, right? He has to pay $10,000 because that's the full amount. And then he would get back 9,008 in cash. So he's short 200, right? But why is he willing to go short on 200? Because at the end of the month, he's going to get back $500 of rebates from his credit card issuer. So end of the day, what the ecosystem we're building is that the SME gets a $200 gain in terms of lower cash paid. The consumer gets a $300 gain in terms of net gain of his rebate. So that's the kind of sharing economy, or sometimes I try to pitch it as a Airbnb for credit cards. Kind of idea that we've been running.
That sounds very interesting. Yeah. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I think that's a really complete picture of what Swappy is. I think that I will leave Kang to explain most of the things, and maybe when it comes to the business development or the operation side, then I can share a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for sharing about what Swappy is. It sounds like a very useful platform for small businesses to actually save money by reducing the amount of costs they have paid to the suppliers. So, I mean, actually, how did this idea come about?
Okay, so the idea came about. I mean, both myself and Joe, we are not bankers, but the idea came from one of my friends who is a banker. So he works in the bank. So he was like, hey, you know what? Every month we receive so many credit card related kind of transactions, right? And what if we were having dinner, right? And then we were talking about credit cards because why he shared with me about his credit card transaction in the bank is because I paid first with my credit card, and my friends always ask me, hey, why do you pay first? Why do you always pay first when we eat out? I say, oh, because I can earn the rebates on the card, right? So he brought in, so he shared a few things with me about, you know, the credit card transaction stuff in the bank. And then another friend at that dinner was like, hey, then why don't you take your card and, you know, pay the bill for the whole restaurant, right? Because since you like to gain your points so much, right? And then I was like, yeah, sure, I would do it. I would do that if there was a legit platform enabling me to do that. Right. So but there isn't such a platform. So yeah, so we decided why not? I'll just build it.
That sounds quite inspirational. I mean, do you find it difficult actually to like match the back end, like from the buyer to the purchaser?
Yeah, I think there definitely has to be some. I mean, there definitely is some challenge in, you know, operations, but not as much as it comes to pitching the product to the market. Because as with every startup, when you do something totally new, people are not very receptive to what you do. Most people they just want to maintain the status quo, and you know, when you ask them to do take one or two more risks, so-called risks, because it's a kind of risk in terms of a new product or new startup they have to undertake, right? They are typically quite averse to, you know, trying out to be on board a new product with you. So so it's definitely hard to acquire the customers. And what I realized is that once they are acquired, they they tend to play by our rules. They tend to be able to be controlled by us in some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the hard part is getting their buy-in in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, what do you think is the biggest challenge for running Swappy?
Right, running Swappy for sure. I think maybe, you know, the difficulty that we face is, you know, in outreach and really kind of like demonstrating the value that we can bring to our customers. I mean, the SMEs, because a lot of times, you know, they're used to the status quo, the way they are doing things, and it's kind of difficult to come in and see, hey, you know, we have this amazing technology, amazing platform where you can just apply to be part of and then get a discount for your inventory purchase, for example. Yeah, so getting a buy-in is something that we are constantly facing. Yeah.
I mean, and for both of you, what's the biggest joy of running a platform like Swappy?
I'll share mine first. So if I can be selfish, the biggest, I mean, a big joy is, you know, when there's a big transaction and no customer wants to take it up. So I'll take it up and then I will earn points on my own credit card. So that's my joy. So that's but I mean end of the day, so long, you know, whatever adds value to either side of the marketplace, right? Be it the businesses or be it the consumers. Right? So if the business wants something urgent and I can't find a consumer within that period of time, and then using my own card would solve the problem for the business, I think that's a 50% win. We go for small wins, right? And vice versa, if a consumer says he wants to spend another $200 this month and we can't find someone to spend 200, as a company we will say, okay, then we'll park our business expenses with you for this month only, right? Pay for our pantry, pay for our stationery, pay for our software for this month, so you would be able to spend 200. So I mean, as a marketplace, of course, you kind of fake each side sometimes, but it's a joy. It's sometimes a joy to be able to fake, because you yourself get to enjoy the benefits that your platform is bringing to you, to to anyone out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Joe, what's your joy?
Me? Okay. I think what I like the most is like how I get to try my hands on the different aspects of the business, you know, be it like outreach, social media side of things, advertising, and previously we've talked to SMEs, right? And now we're venturing into the social sector, and it's always something new. And I think Kang is a good boss and mentor too, so that's a plus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, during this period for COVID, I mean, it's been a difficult period for many businesses. Has that affected your business?
Yeah, I would say to some extent, yes, but maybe affected it to a better extent. And okay, so there's two reasons why, right? Actually there's two pros, one con. Yeah. So the two pros is that one of the pro is that in our previous business where we were doing, not previous but like the ongoing one, where we were handling SMEs, e-commerce SMEs, right? So we are targeting mainly e-commerce because they purchase their inventory online and they move their goods rather quickly as compared to other industries. So so e-commerce was booming because of COVID, because of everybody staying home. So yeah, we definitely saw an increase in volume, in transaction volume during when e-commerce increased, because so long we're a service that's supporting the e-commerce industry, definitely our own volume would increase as well, right?
Yeah.
So that was a good thing to have. The con on that would definitely be as so it definitely helped to speed up the maturity of our product. But because as a marketplace and we face what I would call the carousel effect much faster as well than we expected. Right. So over time, even within that short 1 or 2 months, they got comfortable with so some of our clients got comfortable with our consumer credit card holders, right? And then they started to ask us for permission to move away from the platform. Right. So which is why I call the carousel effect, because on carousel you don't necessarily transact on the platform after the first time you do so. Right?
Okay.
So yeah, so they are transacting. I mean, there's quite a number of users who are asking and who are telling us their preference to transact away from the platform. And then we try to work out a plan with them, like, okay, yeah, just pay this one time lump sum and you can go all you want.
Yeah.
That's kind of a con. But I think another pro, which probably will get into John's next question, would be we were able to look at some additional research and data and insights to see that hey, actually the social sector, the social services sector, is a new expansion area that's worth exploring. So I think one key data trend that guided us into this direction was that so there was this Singapore giving survey, and we plotted the giving rates, private giving rates across the economic growth rates of that year. So, for example, in 2009, when we saw the financial crisis, right, private giving rates were like 88%, as compared to it has been hovering around 70 plus for the past few years, when it has been quite the economic growth has been quite good. 99 financial crisis, the giving rates were at 91%. So 91% of people said they would donate to a charity, right? So so I think and then we kind of plotted everything across a graph of like x-axis, y-axis on like giving rates and year of economic growth. And we realized that there is actually quite a significant inverse relationship between charitable giving and economic growth. So right now we are still in the midst of COVID, but I think within the next few months, and our economy has been increasingly resilient. So within the next few months, economic growth would definitely be coming back again, right? I mean, econs major, by the way. So within the next few months, economic growth would come back, and people would forget about giving to charities and giving to non-profits. So I think that's where the social services sector would kind of face a kind of challenge in getting donations, be it in kind or be it in cash, right? So that's where we are. I mean, that's why we are coming in, and that's why I think that's the good thing about COVID, which forced us to explore a sector that really needs our service and our whatever solutions we can come in with.
Yeah. Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
Just like sorry. So just as Kang Liang said, right? I think during this period, e-commerce is booming, so that's good for us. And also, in a way, it kind of forces us to look outwards. So we are exploring this new opportunity in the social sector. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So, I mean, have you all managed to get some social service agencies on board?
Yeah, so right now our day to day involves 80% of our day to day. Of course, 20% we just do the old business, right? But 80% of our day to day involves just finding social service agencies, reaching out to them, and asking them about I think it's not about pitching our product right away, because if you ask me to say for 100% with 100% certainty what product we are going to build, I can't give you an answer. But I think now it's a stage where we are reaching out to different players, stakeholders in the market. Social workers would be the most important stakeholder, I think, right? Because end of the day, they are the ones on the ground. They are the ones who are looking at the needs of our society, right? And what we are doing with stakeholders now is really just going into interview them, kind of find out their challenges they face day to day, and then give a very brief pitch of what kinds of solutions we can come up with to solve the day to day challenges. Right. So in this case, it would be similar to what we've been running, right? Helping to purchase groceries and not asking for money back. So I think if to be honest, because we are only like a few weeks in, so nobody's on board. But the focus now is really to just get as many trials as possible. So proof of concept trials. We don't want a case where we start charging the social workers, or we start charging the agencies, and then there's no real need for the product, and then we are basically ruining the market for tech and ruining the market for ourselves as well.
So let's say if today a social worker wants to use your service, how can he use it?
So I think what we can do at the social worker level or the center level would be roughly to come in, would be like just grab a call, right? Because in normal cases we would have go down to meet them, but now would be a call, right? And then we would just walk them through on hey, so let's say your client needs to buy something, right? Be it stationery, be it groceries, be it other perishables. Your client, so long your client needs to buy something, you can come to us, right? You can put up a request, and we would find our card holders. So just now I talked about the card holders, right? Who are mostly very savvy is a nice word to use for them. Joe would know the politically incorrect word, which is stingy. So they are very savvy, and they are very calculative on every single credit card dollar, right? But sometimes, these people are also, they can also be good. They can also be like, okay, I don't mind donating $50 or $100 a month just to meet my credit card spending, right? So so what we'll do is we'll find all these previous users who came in to maximize their credit card rewards and tell them, hey, maximize your credit card rewards by donating, right? By buying on behalf, buying some groceries and gifting the groceries to a client in the case of family service center, right? So what a social worker needs, all a social worker needs to do is to assess the client day to day, which is as per his or her day to day role, right? And if the client is suitable for being gifted groceries instead of, let's say, NTUC vouchers, or instead, because you can take a $30 NTUC voucher and you can buy $30 worth of snacks, and nobody would care, right? But instead of that, the social worker can work on a grocery plan together with the client, and they can and they can just put up a request on our site, and the request will be pinged to all these users who want to earn more credit card points, and then the users would just make the purchase on their behalf.
Okay. Wow, that's very interesting. So do I understand it right that when we let's say plan out this grocery list, then every single week the clients will get those groceries. Is that how it works?
Correct. So it can be recurring. It can be one-off, depending on the client's requirements, right? So I think the whole idea is to help clients access groceries when as in order on demand fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Joe, do you have anything else to add to this portion on how it can be relevant to social workers?
Yeah, I think how it can be relevant to social workers. I think for sure, like it's an additional avenue where social workers can source the items that the beneficiaries or clients need, right? So I think this is what we can help with.
Okay, sure. So I just wanted to pivot a bit more broadly to the role of technology in social services. What are your views on that, knowing that social services can be quite outdated place?
Yeah. Can I give an answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we've seen a few organizations that are kind of like they show preference, of sticking to the ways that they are doing things. But at the same time, like there are also social workers who are really open to new technologies. They really say that they see the problem that social sector is lacking behind in terms of technology. That's why it's like good to kind of explore what's beyond what's available and stuff like that. So it's like it's a good mix of people that we've talked to so far.
Yeah.
So,
and Kong Yang, do you have any views?
Yeah. So if I can give a little bit of a controversial view where some of my tech friends may kill me, I would think that tech is not for every industry. There must be the right fit, and there must be a kind of a particular problem that tech is entering. Okay, so when tech enters a particular industry, there must be a particular problem that it's carved out to solve. So for example, in the case of Shopee, what we are looking at is to solve the problem of social workers having to scramble to get perishable resources, where as compared to and they may spend maybe 10 man hours a week to do that, right? So a center may spend 10 man hours a week to scramble to get food resources, to scramble to call back HQ and say how many NTUC vouchers do we have left, to call food bank and say are you coming this week, right? As compared to what we are providing them is an on-demand request platform which they can use, and maybe they can save 5 man hours a week. And if tech provides that kind of value of saving 5 man hours a week, then we ask that's level 1, right? And level 1 of tech implementation would tell us that okay, tech is going to make a difference here, right? But if tech is going to increase the number of man hours spent, so let's say the platform, for every request you need to spend 5 hours to key in a request, right? So tech is going to increase the number of man hours that is used to scramble for resources. Then tech is not going to be a good fit for the industry. So that's level 1. And then level 2, we ask ourselves, if we save 5 man hours a week, right? Is that 5 man hours a week worth saving or not? Or is it like just insignificant? Because for example, a center, maybe a big center has like 100 social workers, and 5 man hours a week saved a week means like each person is only saving 0.05 man hours, 0.05 hours, right? And 0.05 hours is what, 2 minutes, right? So does it should a center or should an organization bother with saving 2 minutes, right? Maybe no. So in that case, tech has no application skill. So so I think it's really why at this stage we are speaking to stakeholders to kind of ascertain the need for such a solution before we go in and say yeah, our solution is definitely good because everybody wants to say that my solution is going to be the next Facebook, the next Grab, the next Uber, the next Amazon, but yeah, I think that's a good dream to have, but we need to be very practical in terms of what value do you really bring to your clients and your users.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you mentioned that you had a few conversations. So what are some lessons from those?
Yeah, I think Joe has the notes. I have a bad habit of not taking notes, so
Right.
but let me try to recall. But Joe can go first.
Yeah. I think the lessons that we've learned, I think it's just a lot of implementation. So a lot of times, when we are conceptualizing the prototype, um, we don't know what it's like on the ground, right? For the when the social workers are working with their clients, so there are missing pieces in our concepts, and I think through our conversations with them, I think these are the missing pieces that we're like picking up and kind of adding on to our prototype to make it better for them. And maybe to go back a little bit to the topic of tech in maybe social sector, right? The lesson is kind of, I don't know, it's just my observation that how product lifecycle, you have like first adopters, enthusiasts, and then late adopters, that kind of stuff. And maybe we need more of the first adopters in the social sector. But yeah, that's just my take.
Okay, sure. And Kang Liang, do you have any thoughts?
Yep. So I think adoption curve definitely is one, right? And I think as with so there's a hard and there's a soft. So the hardware part, right, is that we definitely need to, like I briefly mentioned just now, we definitely need to build a kind of solution that is um that has given enough thought to how social workers operate on a day-to-day basis, right? And what kind of value does it bring, not just to the social worker but to the agency and to even organization wide, right? And then the software part is, I think, as with every startup and as with every new solution, don't get stuck in your own hypothesis that your solution definitely would work, and you need to be resilient because you're going to face a lot of rejections. So so for example, like to get one reply, there are 20. To get one reply to say yes, there may be 10 or 20 replies that say no, right? And that I think that's a reality on a, of course, sometimes we take for granted that when you are running a startup day to day, that's a reality. And I mean, a lot of people in tech, or a lot of my startup industry friends would kind of say, yeah, it's normal, what, no big deal, what, right? We face rejections every day, but I think it's something that you need to constantly keep close to your heart, that rejections and resilience is just a part of the formula. So long just hold on to the mission, right, and you'll be fine.
So would you say that probably the most common barrier is the fear of adopting a new technology?
I think for solution providers or solution innovators like us, the fear would be rejection. For the solution users, definitely the fear would lie in adoption. The fear would lie in the typical case of whether would technology replace my job, right? But the point is technology should help your job, right? And that's the role of, and then so the ball is back in the court of the innovators like us to find out the best way that technology could help you in your job, and not force something down your throat and say that, oh, okay, this technology, use it, and then you feel, and then as a social worker you feel insecure on whether it will replace you or not.
Yeah. So I mean, as a social worker, how can we become how can we overcome these barriers of fearing a new technology?
I think okay, so I'm not a career consultant, but I think if but I share this with my some of my juniors who I mentor sometimes, right? When they say they're afraid that their job is replaced by AI. So I think you kind of need to scope out, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Which things are the things that you have no choice to do, but you hate them. It's manual tasks, but you have to do them as part of your
Yeah,
job,
yeah,
right? And then which tasks are the real value adding tasks, and what's the kind of percentage composition of it in your job, right? So if your job has like 90% menial repetitive tasks, then of course you're at risk of being replaced by AI. But I think social workers is in a very they're in a very um special, more unique situation because it's an industry that will not be replaced by tech, but there's a lot of potential to be assisted by tech. So I
mm,
would say I would give a rough estimation of 30 to 40% of our social workers they would be pretty manual. Based on the our rough estimations, based on rough guesses of the social workers we spoke to so far, right? 30 to 40% of the day is pretty manual. In terms of having to scramble for resources. That's one. Having to um, do repetitive house visits, or key in application forms, financial application forms, for example. So all those definitely can be improved by tech, right? And we are coming in to help that one part of. So let's say 30 to 40, let's say 40% administrative work. 20% would be maybe keying in financial forms. 10% maybe would be finding furniture on Pass It On, right? The other 10% maybe would be finding grocery vouchers. So we're coming in with that one solution to help you automate that 10% of finding groceries
yeah,
for your client, right? And if you have the awareness that you have this 20, 10, 10, which are all manual, then you kind of you won't really be afraid that your job is going to be replaced, or tech is coming and compete with you, because there's still 90% of your job that would still fall back on you. And if tech can save you 10% of the time, it means giving you 10% more capacity to do more, to speak to more
mm,
clients, to help more people,
yeah, yeah,
to take on more cases even.
yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned that being comfortable with rejection and keeping close to your heart the mission of Swapi helps you to carry on each and every day. So
Mm.
what is your mission here at Swapi?
I think it started off as becoming a unicorn. But that's just kidding. A unicorn is a startup that's like super huge startup, right? Worth $1 billion. Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah,
I mean, at the start it was like reducing wastage of financial assets, because when the bank gives you a $10,000 credit line, you can use part of the credit line to earn money, right? So kind of also partially kind of like doing a bank run to rate whatever rewards you can. So that was somewhat the mission uh for a start, right? I think now with the whole social thing, it is still doing a bank run to rate whatever rewards or rebates the bank gives you, but instead of taking it and keeping it yourself, now right now the mission would be taking it and sharing it with society, because there are people who need that 3 or 5% dollars cashback more than you.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
I think Kang Liang said it all. I mean, he founded the company, so yeah, he's the best person to talk
Okay.
about that. Yeah.
And so how do you see Swapi developing in the next few years?
mm, Well, that's a loaded question, but I think, yeah, I think end of the day, at heart, we are tech people, we are business people. So and that's what we are good at, right? So it doesn't make sense to say, okay, let's park everything aside, and then let's go and do a traineeship in a social service office for half a year or something, just to understand the market. I think it is using whatever tech and business capabilities we have to help be it the social service sector, be it the non-profit sector, be it the the non-governmental sector, right, to raise more funds or raise more donations.
Yeah.
We're starting with in-kind because in-kind is way easier to handle as compared to cash, right? And in future, really implementing any kind of tech solution, that tech business or marketing solution that can improve donation rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, Joe?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, sure. I mean, was there anything I didn't ask that you all wanted to add as we close this interview?
Nope, I think I said almost everything. Yeah, so tech is not for everyone. But tech can be for you if you have enough awareness of how tech can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's my so-called parting statement to the social workers who are listening to this podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kang Liang and Joe, for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and I really hope that we as social workers can be more open to new ideas rather than being so scared of new technologies.